Hey guys, it's Nicole Eaton with the Rock Your Soul book and podcast, and I'm so excited today. I'm here with my friend Pat James, who is a health coach, a life coach, a lifestyle entrepreneur, helping people to take charge of their healthy lifestyle and happiness. What's up, Pat?
Hey Nicole, how you doing?
I'm so excited to have you on. We just have the most fun
We
conversations.
do, we do, we do. We vibe really well. We really well. We really, really well.
Yeah,
Like even from the beginning too. So like I'm excited about this as well.
totally. So catch people up on who you are, what you do, what you love.
As she mentioned, my name is Patrick James. I do run a full-time personal training studio here in Charlotte, North Carolina. But I'm also, I like to consider myself like a self-mastery coach. And what I mean by that is helping myself and others master this thing that we call life. I like to put those things into four categories. I like to call them your vital four. So we break it down. So your vital four is power. Power means your fitness and nutrition. You have passion. That means your relationships and how you go about treating other people. You have your productivity that goes about, how do you go about your business? How productive are you? And most importantly, we have your purpose. What is helping you grow to that next individual? And I like to use those for to help myself grow, but also to help my clients grow as well. So as I, dive into the more of the online world and really take advantage of it, that's how I want to leave my impact here in the world. So it's definitely been a journey, but I think this is like, I feel comfortable where I'm at. I feel like I'm headed in the right direction. So that's who I am. But more importantly than anything, I'm a guy from New York. I love sports. I have a 3-month-old baby girl. Her name is Ella, who is my world. Love her to death. Fatherhood has been most amazing experiences so far, and I just look forward to that, and that's definitely been like a drive for me to keep going in this entrepreneurship.
And she's adorable.
Oh yeah, she is adorable. She is. I can't lie. I'm not just saying that because she's my kid. Like she really is. She is adorable. Definitely.
So Pat and I are from similar areas of New York,
Yes.
where we probably grew up like an hour apart. So I think it's cool that we've connected down here in the
Hmm.
Carolinas. But so what? How does one dive into the life of a health coach or a life coach? Like, what brought you to do this work?
You know what? I get that question often, and I really thought about it, and I was just like, you know what? Honestly, what brings me to do this is like my own journey. Like it's been a very up and down path, but like as I started to grow myself in personal development, I realized that the down part of it, or what we call the down part of it, is where I actually learn the most. And so going through my own life, whether it's come to you know going to college and not finishing, and going into the banking world and deciding that, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, then going into fitness and then realizing that I want to be my own person, and being engaged and not being engaged again, and all these things that on the outside to anybody else would look like failure, or look like, oh my god, like these things happen. They were actually the greatest learning lessons that I could have ever had in my life, period. And so I realized by coaching clients for the last 7 years, also, like, in terms of personal training, that a lot of people are going through the same things. And, I just started to realize like the potential in terms of like what's needed in this particular niche. And so, I wanted to bring my experience, my way of thinking, along with the people who I interact with on a yourself and learning from other people, to help people just elevate their thoughts, and take action no matter what it is. So I would say what brought me to this and wanting to be a life coach or health coach, or I like to call it self mastery coach, because each and every day we're focusing on mastering ourselves, um, was just my own experiences. And I realized that we all are kind of going through things on a similar wavelength. It's just different experiences. So I wanted to be able to help.
So fascinating, because I think the one area that can be a struggle for people is feeling stuck in one thing. And I love that you've kind of taken that and said, okay, well, I didn't finish school and I didn't, stay in the banking world. And and I didn't, and I was engaged and it didn't work out. And that's led me to where I
Yeah.
am, because I think people can get really hung up on, wow, I failed at that, or I didn't finish this, or and it comes with like almost a label of who you are
Mm-hmm.
instead of an experience of what you did.
Mm.
How do you, like, for someone who's stuck in that mentality of like, I'm a failure, or I can't do anything right, or I just keep jumping from one thing to the next. Like, how do you get in the right
Mm.
mindset to make that from failure to learning
Well,
curve?
you said something very key just there. It's just like, it's an experience. It's not a label of who you are. Uh, society has programmed us in a way to think that whatever we don't finish, or if something doesn't turn out the way we thought it would be, like now you have to label that as a failure, when I really label that as a stepping stone. Because if you can leave that, now mind you, you still feel the hurt of it, and there is sometimes those creeping thoughts, like even right now, like we're in the midst of a pandemic that, think about it. Like, I'm a 90s kid. Like, we never really experienced anything like this. Like,
Right,
isn't
totally.
it, like, honestly, like, being honest, besides 9/11, and it really didn't impact us too much because we were younger and we weren't directly in New York City. Besides 9/11, we really, nothing really has really affected us. Like, we really, like, as American citizens, we, like, for the most part, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Not saying we haven't had struggles, but we've lived good. So, you know, what I would say is, like, during this pandemic, and, wanting to elevate my thoughts and wanting to be a better person, like, you just take those experiences and you say, you know what, like, this can either make or break me, either one. And, you know, I will not allow this to define who I am, but I will allow it to be a blessing in disguise, or, a learning lesson, so that I don't make the same mistakes or make the same decisions again. And that is what life is about, isn't it? Like, you don't know what you want until you have it. You don't
Absolutely.
know what not to do until you do it. And, I think we've been, like I said, once again, it goes back to, like, the programming. Like, I take those learning experiences, or what some people may call failed experiences, and, like I said, I use them as like a slingshot. So I went to an elevation sermon. This was around like 2016, and this is like a few weeks before I quit my job to like be a health coach full time. And Pastor Furtick, and if you anyone listening, if you don't follow Elevation, please do. Even if you're not religious and you're more spiritual, he's not he uses Christianity, but he talks from a more of a motivational speaker kind of a sense. So I think anybody can listen to him. I know you listen to him as well. Yeah, like anybody,
Absolutely.
regardless of what denomination you are, I think he's just a good person to like listen, speak. Like, I think he would be one of the top personal development speakers if he wasn't in like the religious setting. I really, really do. But he used this, yes,
200%.
he
Yeah.
used this analogy of like a slingshot. And I don't know if I mentioned this to you before, but he said, most times we look at these failures as setbacks. And he was like, well, let them be setbacks. Let them be setbacks, because setbacks are what catapult you forward, just like a slingshot. You know what I mean? You need momentum. So when you have a slingshot, you pull it back, and that creates momentum. And when you think about it, when you pull it back, when you think you're at the bottom of the bottom, and in most cases, unless we're fighting for our life, we're never at the bottom of the bottom. You know, we're never at the
Absolutely.
bottom of the
Yeah.
bottom. You know what I mean? So when you're at the bottom of the bottom, there's no way up. There's nowhere to go but up. Like, there's nowhere to go but forward. Like, this, yes, it hurts. Yes, you're going through it. Yes, it's painful. Use that pain, use that momentum of the pain you had, and let it catapult yourself forward. I promise you, like, you eventually get past, any kind of hardship you're going through. So, I remember that particular like sermon and what he said, and it really just stuck with me. It really, really did. And so, like, I even use that to this day, to where I just let those failures, or I let those experiences that I wasn't too fond of, help change who I am today. And, I'll focus on the present. So I try to be 1% better every day.
I love that, and I I always joke that I should like get a cut of Stephen Furtick's check because I promote him so
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
So I 100% I love the idea of just elevating your thoughts and being better. Where do you find the motivation? Because I think, especially for people right
Yeah.
now during this time period, it's almost going one way or another. People are either diving into themselves or diving into like Netflix and drinking. Like, how do you, what are some habits or daily routines that you personally promote or get into or would offer to people who are kind of like, man, I just cannot find the motivation to like want to do any
Yeah.
of
So
this?
motivation. So I have a philosophy on motivation. So I feel like motivation is something that you shouldn't depend on. And the reason why, because for anybody, even the most successful people, motivation comes and goes. But you hit it right in the nose when you said like habits and routines, and like what are you going to do in your routine? So with this idle time that a lot of people have right now, and everybody has a little bit more idle time than they had before, even if you do go to your job still every day, you still have more idle time. I think it's a perfect opportunity to where you can set up new rituals and routines for yourself and try your hardest to stick to them. And even if you don't get it one day, wake up the next day and just do it again. That's been my thing during this quarantine period, is where it's like, okay, let's set up new habits. So I have a list of 12 things that I have to get done before 12 p.m., before 12 noon.
Ooh, I like that.
Yep. 12
Okay.
things that I have to get done before 12 noon. Right. And they don't take too much time, but it pushes me. So even if I don't get it by 12, I'm like, okay, I got to get it. I got to get it. I got to get it. So it'll be similar it'll be like, I'll break it down. It will, and it's not all work. It's like personal as well. It would be, okay, I have to send a text to my family and loved ones saying I love them, or send them some kind of appreciation post. Sometimes I even grab like quotes off of Instagram and send them the post, anything to show my appreciation for them or honoring them in any kind of way. So that can be your family, that can be your partner, that can be an old friend from college, whatever the case may be. You got to do that. I have to work out before 12, and I have to eat a healthy breakfast. That's another thing. I also have to text my clients and see how they're doing. Like say, hey, just check up on them, just checking up on you. And for those who are entrepreneurs who deal with clients and things of that nature, you find like a system based on how many clients you have to like how many do I reach out to today, how many reach out to tomorrow, whatever the case may be. I meditate and I go for a walk in the morning with my dog with a cup of coffee and just think about life and like the things of that nature. And there's some other things business wise that I have to do before 12, like do a recording for a workout video, all these things, these aspects, and they change daily. Like, so I have them on the list. But what it does, it keeps me accountable for myself. And I think the
Absolutely.
accountability for yourself is one of the hardest things to do. Like it's one of the most difficult and hardest things to do because you don't really have anyone like putting pressure on you as much. Like I grew up playing sports, so I didn't really have to depend on myself to get me going. Like my coaches got me going. Like I had the structure there. I had a teacher. I had my parents. One of the hardest things as an entrepreneur is to build that self discipline for yourself. So in order to do that, you have to have like key staple things that you do every day or every other day to make sure that you get things done. And so I wanted to like create something to where like not only am I handling things professionally, but I'm also handling things on a personal note as well. And so some days I get everything. Some days, I might miss one or two, but it's the point of waking up the next day and realizing like, hey, I'm going after it again and again and again and again. And eventually, those things get easier and you just, you get better at it. And then that's how you build a new resilience to whatever problems come, or if there's ever a future quarantine time period, like you know what to do.
I I love the 12 before 12. I do something really similar with a bullet
Ah,
journal. So I basically write down, I make like a chart and it has each day in April or May or whatever day, whatever month we're in. And then I have one, two, three, four, I have 10 things for the day. And so you kind of create like a chain of X's, like you mark it off as you go. And it's a little bit like a mind
ah,
addiction to see all of the X's in a row. Like there have been times where it's like, okay, read 10, read for 10 minutes is on there for me. And I'll get to the end of the day and it's the only one I didn't check off. So I take that 10 minutes and I do it just so that I feel like there's that sense of completion. So I think that, and then after a while, there is something too, you start to miss it. If you miss
Yeah.
something, like you'll feel it in such a different way where things don't feel as light. So, but I love the idea of 12 before 12 and just kind of setting your day up, because what you're really doing is like saying, this is how I'm going to start. This is the energy I'm starting my day with. And that creates such a
Momentum.
momentum for the rest of your
Absolutely.
day.
Momentum is so key, especially for now I want to use the word entrepreneur less because of like a wide range of audience. It's momentum is key for anyone. Like we need a sense of that. We need a sense of many wins to realize that we're moving forward in the right direction. And so like I try to gather as much momentum as I can, and I won't. I never will act like it's perfect and it happens all the time. Like it doesn't. It really doesn't. Like some days suck. They really, really do suck. But like at the same time, it's just like I know that this is part of the process. It's part of the journey. And so with that knowing, I know I can wake up the next day or just tap out of a negative mindset really quick because like at the end of the day, like there's more. Like there are people who have endured worse conditions and came out in better situations. So I just try to keep a grateful mindset. But yeah, like I do the 12 before 12, and like I said, it's been working for me very, very well. But I like your idea as well. I think you mentioned that to me before as well, the bullet journal. Yeah.
It's like one of my like addictions. Like this, I carry it everywhere. It's something that it's kind of like, oh no, what do I need? It just helps me refocus. And I think when you can get your focus in the right
Mm,
place, that's
it
a game
is.
changer. Like wherever your focus is, like if your focus right now is, on being lazy or just, there's nothing to do or boredom. I mean, for me, like there's always something to do. And especially if you have kids, there's really always something to do. But it's just about your intention behind it, I think.
Yep. Intention is like one of the best, like one of the greatest words when it comes to like the self growth aspect because like sometimes like you can really like I'll speak from experience. You fall back into old habits when your intention isn't there. When you don't wake up with an intentive mindset, like 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 saying, "Hey, like I want to do this particular thing and I got to do it." That means you're kind of letting the day control you rather than you control the day. So I try to be as intentful as possible. As intentful as possible. You have to be.
What are like some intentions that you like to use for your day, or what are some things that have kind of gotten you to where you are? What does your mindset look like?
In terms of like the intentions I set for myself, they have definitely changed over the past few months. Like I know it probably sounds cliche, but I'm pretty sure you can speak to it as well. It's like my daughter has changed everything for me. Like she really has.
Totally.
When I see myself falling into bad habits or even not being the the Pat that I know I can be, I have her picture like right on my work desk, and it's just like I'm like, yo, anything for this girl, like anything for this little girl, like so she can have the things and get the best version of her father that she can get, you know. And it's been a game changer because like it's truly taken it's taken the selfishness out of what I do. Because there is a selfishness into what we do sometimes of like, this is for me and, I'm doing this for my personal development. I'm doing this for this and that. But then I had to realize it's like, you know what, like I have somebody else that is depending on me now. I have somebody else that, future like is in my hands, sort of say in a bit, like, and so, having her and, seeing her 3 months, but she's starting to grab things now. She's very attentive. She follows me when I walk from one side of the room to the next with her eyes. It's like all these things are happening, and this human being is, and it's just like I just really want to make her as proud as I can. And throughout that process, I've also realized, the author to be a man that is exudes confidence, a man that exudes vulnerability, but also a man that that wants the world to be at peace and I want the world to grow. And she's definitely been an added increment to that that intent, and she's been it, and I like, and I love her for it. And like one thing I whisper to her all the time is just like, I am so grateful for you choosing me as your father, like I really
Oh,
am. I really, really am. I really am, because I do think that, obviously I see her as a baby right now, but she has a purpose, like she has her own life, that she's gonna have to add her own journey and her own path. And and I want God and I want the universe to be aligned with her, and so she can figure it out and do what she has to do. And I'm excited for that journey and what's to come. So she's definitely been the reason for my intention as of lately.
I I love that, and I love that what she's triggered in you is asking the question of who do I
Yeah.
want to be in the world? How do I want her, and I always think of like people do interesting things. Like they'll stay in bad scenarios and then say it's for their
Yeah.
children. And it's so funny to me because if you turn around and ask, would you want your kid to do that?
Nope.
They'll usually say,
Nope.
well, no. So, it's funny because we think that we're doing things for our children sometimes that aren't healthy for us. But if we ask, turn around and ask the question, like, would you want them to do that? The answer is almost always no. And so it's not about being who other people want you to be, but it's about being your best self and modeling that. Here's how to be your best self. Here's how to show up for yourself every day. Here's how to take care of your mind and your body and your spirit. And I think that that's such a powerful lesson. And I also think, how, like, who you define yourself as and who you decide yourself to be is so
Oh my
freaking
God. Yes.
important.
Yes. Yes. Like completely important.
Kind of want to dive into your four
Yes.
P's if that's
Absolutely.
cool.
Absolutely. Sure. For sure.
Okay, so we talked about you talked about power. So how does somebody like find their power or gain access to their
To
power?
me, power is your body and the way you fuel your body. So, depending on whatever level of expertise you have with fitness, it's just really about getting up and moving. If you are a beginner, if that's walking outside while listening to a very motivational kind of song for you or a podcast, let that be it. If you go hard in the gym and you like weights and you like throwing stuff around, or whether you like to do yoga, it's about getting your body moving and recognizing that, you know what I mean? Like our bodies are a vessel for us to carry out our mission while we're here on earth. Like we're renting these things. So it's getting the body moving, because when the body moves, it gets the endorphins flowing, which makes you more productive, which makes you more passionate, and it also recognizes your purpose. So really, all four of the P's tie into together. They all tie in together. Like
Yeah.
that's just what it is. They all tie in together. So you can't have one without the other. So your power comes from the food that you fuel your body, so your body can actually move. And like diving into food, food has so many benefits. To the entity of food, and it also helps those other four areas as well. So I'm reading. I know we talk about everything, so like I literally read topics on every aspect. So like I always keep a book or an audible book on finances. I keep a book on sex and relationships. I keep a book on fitness. And I also keep like a personal development book, which talks about like your mindset and your purpose. And it's this book I'm reading about sex and food right now, and why certain types of food are good for men and women when it comes to being more sexually active, or having better sex, or lasting longer in sex, or, like for men, like a lot of like, our sex is dependent on like our blood flow. And there's certain foods that actually restrict your blood flow, and there's certain foods that actually open up your blood flow. There's certain foods that get you thinking more and get your stimuli in your brain going more, so you can become more sexually active as you get older. So you can stay more sexually active as you get older. So it's cool and it's fascinating of how all of these things intertwine, and that's why I wanted to create a system. And mind you, these systems are the four P's are basically things that I've learned through other people, and just putting them together now, and simplifying it in a sense. So that's power.
The word fuel
Yeah.
is so important because fuel is not
Mm.
restrictive. And I think that a lot of the feelings and emotions and ideas around food. So for me, like part of my list that we just talked
Yeah.
about is 80-20. And so I don't restrict what I eat. I work out hard, but I never say I can't have that. Or I always think about how is this going to make me feel when I'm done? That is almost how my brain set or my mindset has changed around food is like, am I going to feel good? And I like the ideas of like just knowing your food and knowing what each food has to offer you. How is this feeling me? Is this, helping activate my brain? Is this helping activate my sex drive? Is this helping, my energy levels? And that for me was something really, really important. I used to eat like just so much
Yeah.
fried food or so much sweets. And like, I still do eat a lot of sweets. Like, I'm not going to pretend I don't, but, but I also am really conscious that my breakfast is flawless and my lunch is,
Mm.
you know what I mean? Like, again, something fueling. And so I start off my day always in a place of having more energy because I'm using that word. So I love that tied in with the word power because I think that's putting people in a position to really activate their energy, which is going to give you the motivation and the drive and the feelings of being in alignment with yourself so you can dive into the passion and the
Yes.
purpose and all of the other,
Yes, yes, yes.
parts.
That's exactly what it is. Exactly. Exactly. Like they're so intertwined. And that's why like, I love the like using like, interchangeably the universe, because like it really is just one thing. Like everything is connected to each other, but we try to separate everything. If you are lacking in one area in your life, trust me, it's affecting another area in your life. Just as much if you're progressing in one area of your life, trust me, you're progressing in another area um, indirectly as well. So like this is like I said, like this is it all. It all started from really. I hate to say use the word selfish, but it is. It's just I wanted to get myself better. I wanted to be better in these areas, and I'm still getting better in these areas. Like I think we are all lifelong learners. We should be. That should be our focus. Is to be a lifelong learner because like there's always more to know. And the thing about it is like the more I grow myself, like I know other people can benefit from the lessons I learned and vice versa, because I would rather people not make the same mistakes I did and learn through my lessons like in the same way. I would rather learn from somebody else's lesson than going through it myself. So if I can create content, if I can speak on podcast interviews, if I can, when I meet people, if I can exuberate those philosophies in a way where people can grasp them and keep it simple, which is very simple, breaking these down into 4 sections. I think it'll be a lot easier for people to grasp that concept and start to develop their own 4 Ps or their own vital 4 when it comes to like their own life. So
I I love all of that and I love the way you're combining it and you're absolutely right. It is all interchangeable and I think, having different areas of your life to focus on and kind of keeping your focus on, okay, so if I'm not accessing passion and I'm really lost in my purpose, I can always come
absolutely.
back to my power. What piece of this can I control right now? And I love that it's kind of like this thing that if you feel one part of it, it fuels the others and has this interchangeable process. But what would you say to somebody who's like, man, my purpose is so detached from me. Like, I know a lot of people have such a hard time with like, what am I here for? How do I find my purpose? Like, what do you tell
Well, what I
people
like
with
to tell
that?
people, like if somebody came to me and comes to purpose, no one can tell someone. I feel like no one can tell someone what their purpose is. I think that person has. I would suggest that person to just start taking action on something. So it's like, hey, you know what? I'm very detached from my purpose. I'm like, okay, what do you feel passionate about right now? Maybe they, I don't have anything I'm passionate about right now. Okay, what do you love? What do you love? You have to love something or someone, you know. And so they say, I love my family. Okay, spend more time with your family. Like what can you learn about your brother or sister? What can you, what new conversations can you have with your mom? Or, what could you discover about your teenage daughter that you don't know? Or like, like our purpose doesn't have to be creating the next Apple or, creating the next app that, that is the biggest thing or having a successful business. Your purpose could be just being a better father. You know, yeah,
I
Yeah, your purpose could be
absolutely
just
agree.
being a
Yeah.
better brother or a better friend or helping out your community, spending, the weekends at a shelter home. It could be anything, but you got to take action to figure that out. Like your purpose is not going to be something that you just sit at home and you're like, "Oh, that's what I want to do," or this and that, because once again, that's working off of motivation. Like you're motivated for that moment because you probably discovered a new idea or a new thing and you're like, oh yeah, I want to do it. But like until you take action on a consistent basis and you build fulfillment in that thing, like that's when I think it lasts because motivation comes and goes. Like it really does come and go. Like you're not motivated to do a podcast every day or all the time. I'm pretty sure there's been some podcasts, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's been some podcasts. You woke up that morning, you were like, I don't know if I want to do this today, but you did it, and you kept doing it, and you kept doing it,
Oh,
and you kept doing it,
for
and
sure.
now this is part of your purpose. Now it becomes bigger than you're feeling that day of not wanting to do it. It's bigger than that, So yeah, it varies. It's so much, but I love life. And I know this sounds crazy to say. I really, really do. Like, what other experience would you want?
I, I think too, like when we think about purpose, we often like
Yeah, we
confuse it
do.
with
We do.
career. And they're not the same. So people are like, what is my purpose? And it's not the same. Like, I truly believe that some people are just put here to be happy and spread their
I
light
agree.
and make other people feel good. Like, and share their knowledge or share their love or, have those moments where they have the right answer. Like, I think that people are here not to necessarily again be the next Apple or create this lifelong. It's more about impacting lives by being the most
I agree.
real version of
I
yourself.
agree. Like, back in the 1980s or 1990s, that entrepreneur was like basically a bum who was just trying to figure it out. Like, oh, I'm inventing this next thing. I'm inventing this next thing and this and that. And it's not crazy nowadays. Like, you think about it, those people are probably like billionaires right now. But nowadays, it turned into a cool thing now. So now when people think about success, they think about I have to create something or I have to make a lot of money or I have to do this or I have to do that, and they align their purpose with a career objective or a creativity objective. When in reality, it's just like no, you can just be happy. I was talking about some of the goals I have with my next business venture to one of my friends, and she was like, and I was like, she was like, Pat, like I feel sometimes bad because like I don't have like that kind of like dream. And I was like, why do you feel bad? She was like, I don't have that. Like, I want to create this next thing or I want to do this. She was like, I live a good life. Like, I'm happy. And I was like, that's okay. Like, like not like that. We can't put purpose we can't align purpose all the time with trying to be like the next Bill Gates or Steve Jobs. You know what I mean? Or, LeBron James or somebody like that's not what purpose is about. Purpose is an arbitrary thing and it's personal. It to you your purpose is not somebody else's purpose. I think our purposes intertwine as we connect with people, as we mate with people, as we grow lives with people. But your purpose is your purpose, and my job as a human being that is sharing this earth with you is to be a positive light to help you stay on your path. Whether I know how to help you or not, the best thing I can do is just be a positive, encouraging light so that you can get closer and closer to what your purpose is.
I think that's awesome. And so I know you've been during this kind of quarantine process, you've been putting out a lot of free content for people who are trying to, work out for their homes, and you're doing a lot of opportunities that's reaching people worldwide. Can you tell people how to find you and
Yeah,
what you're
so right
offering up
now,
right now?
I know we're all stuck inside, and the one thing I want to do is just keep people moving. So my expertise is in the health and fitness field. So I wanted to just provide, you just do at home. You can find those workouts on Instagram at with Pat James. So that's WITHPATJAMES. And if you actually, and I'll do something for you as well. Like I'm going to release these 21-day bodyweight workout programs. And if you contact me through this particular podcast and you say, hey, I heard you on Nichole's podcast, I will actually send you a copy of that 21-day that 21-day body weight workout program for free of charge. So just say that you mentioned the podcast. And I'm going to actually do this for you. I need you to leave a review on the podcast and talk about how amazing Nichole is. And I'll definitely give you a workout program for free.
Oh,
Yes, of
I
course, of
appreciate
course,
you
of
so
course.
much. So make sure to hit Pat up at with Pat James on Instagram. Like I said, he has some incredible workouts you can do right at home, and you can catch me at www.nicholeeaton.com. I've got a ton of discounts on my services right now to get us all through. And I'm wishing well. Thank you so
Of
much,
course, of
Pat, for
course.
joining
Anytime. Thank you
me.
for having me. I really do appreciate this. Bye.
Awesome. Bye.